everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I built my new movie shelf. I'm at the point now where I've outgrown my current shelf, so more shelving is a must. This shelf will be exactly the same as my current shelf. I like DIY projects. This is a pretty easy one, and I wanted to share my build with you all. This could be a guide for those who also need a movie shelf or just some motivation to show that going the DIY route isn't as difficult or painful as it seems. Jumping right into the build, here I'm marking off the cut lines for one of the sides of the movie shelf on this piece of 1 inch by 5.5 inch pine board. This board will be 35 3/4 inches in length. As far as the tools I'm using for this phase of the build, I'm using a tape measure, a speed square to mark off my cut lines, and I'm using my miter saw. I'm wearing some safety glasses to protect my eyes from splinters and other wood particles that may fly around. And this wood is already pretty smooth, but somehow, some way, if I don't wear gloves, I'm guaranteed to get a splinter or a scratch, so I'm wearing gloves. Since they're going to be the exact same length, I'll use the board I just cut to mark off the cut line for what will be the second side of the movie shelf. Here I'm measuring the length of the shelves, which will be 24 inches long. I'll need 4 shelves for this build. Again, these will be the exact same length, so no need to use the measuring tape. I'm using the first shelf to mark off my cut lines. Now I'm using a miter saw. You can use a circular saw, table saw, or even a hand saw to make your cuts. The top of my movie shelf will have a little bit of an overhang, so I'm cutting a 1 inch by 6 3/4 inch board to a length of 25.5 inches long. Now I have all my boards cut to length. This will be the top of my movie shelf, 2 boards for the sides and 4 boards for the shelves. For this project, I'm using a pocket hole jig. This will allow me to create pocket holes that the screws will go through and hide in at every attachment point. The screws won't be visible at all, and I'll have a nice clean look. This isn't necessary. You can just as easily drive that screw straight through the wood, but I would still recommend using a countersink bit. That would allow you to drive that screw head just below the wood surface. Then you can use some wood filler, fill that space, sand it down, and have a nice smooth surface and a clean look. After you paint it, no one will be able to tell where the screws are. Now I'm positioning the shelves, and I'll drive my screws through the pocket holes to attach them to the sides. I did reduce the power on my drill, and I'm taking it slow and being very careful so I don't drive my screws so deep that they pop out the other side of the shelf. Fortunately, everything is lining up well, and the shelf is coming together exactly the way I want. I used wood filler to hide where the seams would be visible. Here I'm sanding it down by hand. I made the mistake of not drilling pocket holes into the sides of the shelf, which would have allowed me to attach the top shelf by driving screws through the side up into the top shelf. I'd have to take the shelf apart to correct it. I chose not to do that. I decided to just adhere the top shelf to the sides with wood glue. That should create a strong enough bond. I used brad nails to keep the shelf properly aligned with the sides. I was very generous with the wood glue, so I'm wiping away the excess. And here is a look at those brad nails. They are barely noticeable, but I'm going to hide those holes with wood filler and sand it smooth. Here is a check to make sure the shelf is level, and it is. I'm sanding by hand again to smooth out all the spots I used wood filler. For the backing on this shelf, I'm using this thick cardboard from a 24-inch by 36-inch picture frame that I got from my local hobby shop. Coincidentally, it fit perfectly. On my first shelf, I used a piece of 1/4-inch thick plywood for the backing, and that worked fine too, but it was a little more expensive and I had to cut it to fit. Here, I'm finishing up nailing the backing into the frame. Glue would have also worked, but I had some nails on hand. And here's a look at the movie shelf before paint. I'm applying a primer before paint. The primer will help seal the surface and prevent the paint from just soaking into the wood. I'll have a nice, smooth, even base to paint over. Up close, I did notice a number of tiny imperfections like knots and dings. This primer will help fill those in as well. First coat is on, I'll apply a second before paint. For paint, I'm using the Sherwin-Williams Tricorn Black, their Emerald line, same paint I used on my walls in my home theater and my current movie shelf. I love this paint, it goes on super easy, it looks and feels very nice. Here is a look at the first coat. I'll let it dry and add 2 more coats. And after 2 more coats, this is a look at the finished movie shelf. I'm very happy with the movie shelf. It looks great. It's exactly what I wanted, fits right into the room and matches the shelf I built previously. The main reason why I chose to make my own instead of just buying one was because I had a very specific vision in mind of what I wanted: color, size, and dimensions. It was easy enough to just do myself, and I love a good project, so this was just fun. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. A like would be very much appreciated. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. I post at least 1 video per week, so there will be regular fresh content on my channel. So stay tuned, and thank you all for watching.